Hey guys, what is going on? So I wanted to talk about the importance of changing your programming or your training to suit your goals, whether that be for hypertrophy or for building strength. And while these things are definitely connected, getting bigger is going to help you get stronger and vice versa. It doesn't mean that you should be training in the exact same way for both. And there's a time period to focus on strength and there's a time period to focus on hypertrophy. And when I say focus, it doesn't mean that you don't do the other one. It just means that there's a certain amount of resources that you can use to achieve your goals, and it's best to allocate your resources to the one you want the most at any given time, okay? So this is true of powerlifters in general. They spend a lot of their off season doing accessory lifts, hammering them, getting bigger, and spending less time focusing on the big three lifts. They may even not do those lifts at all, and they may do variations of these. So they might do Larson press, close grip bench press. They may do RDLs, pause deadlifts, all these different things that they could do as opposed to the specific competition lifts, because they know that building that muscle, building the work capacity, getting in that volume with these other variations, with these accessories is that's going to build the base for them to be able to max out their strength when they decide to peak. So if you're not focused on building strength, you don't need to spend as much time doing these big three lifts as somebody who's, a power lifter or their main objective is to focus on strength. But if your main focus is strength, you still need to do those accessory lifts. You still need to do those variations. So those are the non-negotiables. And so I would say those should be your bread and butter, regardless of how you're training, what your goals are. So if you're focused 100% on strength, you still need to be doing these quote unquote bodybuilding lifts. And if you're a bodybuilder, well, same thing. You should still be focusing on these same types of lifts. I don't think there's much difference there. I think what the difference kind of lies in and how you should be changing your programming is if you want to focus on strength for a specific time period, it makes sense to allocate your resources to more specific training. And that would mean that you actually take away from those accessory or variation lifts to some degree. Okay, so this is something that I'm undergoing in my training. My coach and I, we spent about 6-7 months kind of building my base, getting bigger, stronger, in a variety of rep ranges, but a lot of them being higher rep ranges with lower weight and doing a lot of bodybuilding work and putting on a lot of size and a lot of weight. And now over these next couple of months, we're still doing a lot of that same stuff, but maybe we're lowering the volume. For example, as opposed to doing 2 leg days or 2 lower days, I'm only doing 1 because I just want to maintain that. We're adding in another bench day where I can get some bench practice. And we're allocating just a higher percentage of my training to higher loads, which is more specific to strength. And I've never run a proper, powerlifting peaking program or anything like that. So I don't have any, words of advice on that. But I think the general idea there is that, let's say you're hammering your accessories, you're doing a ton of volume, it could potentially be tiring you out or allocating a lot of your time of your workout to those accessory lifts. Well, if you only have, a month or 2 until your meet, as opposed to trying to build as much muscle as possible during that time period, it would make sense to try and express your strength to the best of your ability. And this is why you would change up your programming, be a little bit more specific. Potentially, if you were doing a close grip bench press or a Larson bench press as your main pushing movement, you may decide to switch to competition bench. It may not be better for bodybuilding or building the muscle, but it's going to be more specific. It's going to allow you to lift the most weight. So it makes sense if you can build the most muscle possible to spend the majority of your time in that kind of accessory focused, bodybuilding, hypertrophy focused type of environment. And that's, again, what I've done over the last 6-7 months. But now, hey, I realized that without doing these heavy lifts, for me, I, bench over 400 pounds and I hadn't even touched anything 3 plates or above this entire time that I've been building. And so there's a certain part of me that has my ego attached to these lifts. I'm not competing in a powerlifting meet, but I do want to see, hey, where's my bench press at? Where's my overhead press at? And I'm doing this and I'm changing my training up. My coach and I are changing my training for the pursuit of this goal to get stronger. Now, it doesn't mean that's going to be the best possible environment for putting on muscle, which again is my main goal. But I just spent 6 to 7 months doing that. So there still is going to be some carryover, still some muscle building going on over these next couple months. But I think that there's a very kind of efficient path to doing this, and that's just spending a lot of time building your base and then spending less time expressing that strength. So what does that look like for me in my programming? How are we changing things? Essentially, I went from doing 5 days of training. Initially, I was doing 4. We found out that wasn't enough. So 5 days of training, 3 upper body days, 2 lower body days. Now we're shifting that into 4 upper body days and 1 lower body day. Now this is, for me personally, I don't care about my 1 rep max when it comes to my squat or my deadlift. In fact, I haven't done a normal squat that wasn't a variation this entire bulk, and I haven't done a single deadlift. I've done RDLs, but I haven't done deadlifts. So I'm not trying to max out my strength on those. I'm just trying to, again, build the muscle groups there. And this 1 day a week is going to be maintaining that, potentially even growing my legs further over the next couple months with just that 1 day a week. And then we're replacing that second leg day with more practice with the lighter day, focusing on bench press. And again, this is not about building more muscle in the upper body. This is about expressing strength, which again is, just a goal of mine that I just want to see where I'm at, because I know that I've put in a lot of work. I've put on a lot of size. I've added a lot to my accessory lifts, and I want that to see, hey, how is that transferring to my bench press, to my overhead press? So that's my primary goal. I think that's kind of, for somebody who's not a power lifter, shouldn't be your main objective, because, hey, it makes a lot more sense to spend a lot of time, bulking and getting big and focusing on what's going to help you in the long run get bigger and stronger. But for this next 2-month period, as I'm going to be entering a multi-month cut, I want to be able to express my strength when I'm heavier, when I have the most muscle mass, when I've worked very hard to build all of this up. I want to be able to express that strength, to have new numbers, if it's not just purely for my own ego, to be able to improve upon the numbers I already have. And then we'll go into a cut, and then I'll focus. My main focus then will not be strength or muscle. It'll just be, I want to lose weight, and then that'll be my new goal. Focus on that, allocate my resources to that, and then we repeat the process, get back into building muscle, and then later on we'll test maxes again, and thus the cycle continues. So just want to talk about that in terms of, if you're spending a certain day doing something that's focused on something that's no longer your main goal, you can potentially pull that out. If you want to, as opposed to doing a tremendous amount of accessories that are really going to build the most muscle possible, you could potentially pull some of those out and focus some of them on more specific tasks so you can, build your strength up. This is not to encourage you to go from bodybuilding to strength training, but it's to say that you are probably going to get better numbers if you focus specifically on strength training. But is that your main priority? Is your main priority to get bigger or stronger? And, for me, getting bigger was the main focus. In these last 2 months, my main priority is to get stronger. So that's just me allocating my resources to what I think is the best at the moment, what I want at the moment. But at the end of the day, getting bigger and getting stronger and just doing it in a holistic way year round, that is going to yield results at all times. So hopefully that can help some people kind of change their perspective in terms of where they're allocating their energy in terms of volume in the gym. Potentially if they're, eating in a calorie surplus and, you want to put your food to good use, where are you really getting the most advantage out of that extra food? In my opinion, that's going to be building muscle. But if you want to build some strength towards the tail end of your bulk, I think that makes a lot of sense. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'll keep you updated, and I'll talk to you soon.